Today's explainer. We are decoding what is, without a doubt, the most ambitious, complex, and frankly mind-boggling mega project in human history, the master plan to colonize Mars. We're going to peel back the layers on the blueprint itself, dig into the intense existential reasons driving the whole thing, and stick around for this, look at a massive, very recent plot twist that kind of changes everything.
But to really wrap our heads around this mission, we have to first understand the intense obsession behind it. Picture this. Elon Musk's ex-wife, Tallulah Riley, once shared a story about one of their early dates. He invites her back to his hotel room. And you know what they do? He just sits her down to watch rocket videos. Seriously. And this tiny, kind of funny anecdote brilliantly illustrates something crucial. For Musk, space exploration isn't just some side hustle or a standard business venture. It's a deeply ingrained, almost all-consuming obsession. He isn't doing all this just to make money. It's the exact opposite. He is making money specifically to fund this one giant obsession. In fact, when you really step back and look at it, you kind of have to ask, is this entire business empire secretly built just for Mars? Because every single company fits perfectly into a unified ecosystem. Think about it for a second. Tesla isn't just pumping out electric cars. They're developing self-driving tech and Optimus robots. That is the exact automated workforce you'd need on a dead planet. Then there's Starlink, providing satellite internet, which is literally the perfect blueprint for off-world communication. And the Boring Company? They dig tunnels. Well, how do you think you'd build radiation-proof underground habitats on Mars? Exactly. None of this is random, guys. It's a highly cohesive master plan. Now, actually getting to Mars, that is a whole different beast. You can't just point a rocket straight up and hit the gas. Space travel relies on something called the Hohmann transfer orbit. Because Earth and Mars are moving around the sun at totally different speeds and in different positions, you can't shoot a rocket in a straight line. It's kind of like throwing a football to a wide receiver who's sprinting down the field. You have to throw the ball to where they are going to be, not where they are right now. The mathematical precision required is just staggering. And that precision becomes even more daunting when you look at the sheer, mind-numbing scale of this journey. At their absolute furthest, Earth and Mars are about 400 million kilometers apart. Even when they are at their closest, we're still talking 55.5 million kilometers away. With the absolute best technology we have today, a one-way trip takes anywhere from 7 to 9 months. You are hurling a spacecraft across an unimaginably huge void, just hoping to perfectly intercept a moving target. Which brings us to the brutal reality behind the number 26. Because of those orbital mechanics we just talked about, the planets only align for a launch window once every 26 months. That's it. So if a launch fails, or if you miss that window by even a fraction of a second, you can't just say, oh well, let's try again next Tuesday. Nope. You are grounded. A single mistake literally costs you over 2 years of just sitting and waiting. Okay, so let's play this out. Let's say you hit the window, you wait out the grueling 9-month journey, and you successfully land. Hooray! Congratulations, you've just arrived at 5 biological nightmares. Seriously, Mars is actively trying to kill you. First off, there is practically no oxygen. Step outside without a spacesuit and you suffocate in 90 seconds. Then there's lethal space radiation. Mars doesn't have Earth's protective magnetic shield, so you're constantly at risk of massive cellular damage. The gravity? It's only 38% of Earth's, meaning your muscles and bones will literally shrink and weaken over time. And, to top it off, massive, unpredictable dust storms can sweep across the planet and block out the sun for months. And honestly, the temperature situation deserves a special shout-out. Here on Earth, we consider Antarctica to be the harshest, most extreme environment possible, right? It averages about negative 49 degrees Celsius. Well, an average day on Mars is negative 60 degrees, and at night, it plummets way below negative 100 degrees. If you step outside unprotected, you turn into a block of ice almost instantly. So, with all this incredible, lethal danger, why even go? Well, this brings us to the existential why, and it's heavily driven by something called the Fermi paradox. Think of our universe like a massive school with 10,000 classrooms. Logically, given the size, there should be students in almost all of them. Yet we look around the hallway, and every single classroom is pitch black and completely empty, except ours. Mathematically, with billions of galaxies out there, alien life absolutely should exist. And yet, we have exactly zero evidence of it. So the absolutely crucial question is, why are we seemingly alone? This leads us to a really chilling theory known as the Great Filter. It basically suggests that there is some unknown barrier out there, maybe it's nuclear war, climate collapse, or something we haven't even discovered yet, that consistently wipes out advanced civilizations before they can expand across the stars. If humanity hasn't passed this filter yet, we are in incredible existential danger. And that right there is why making humanity a multiplanetary species isn't just some billionaire's fun side project, it's genuinely viewed as the ultimate backup drive for intelligent life. But how do you take a completely dead rock and turn it into a backup drive? Enter terraforming. The master plan here involves literally warming up the planet so the frozen water and carbon dioxide melt, which would eventually create an atmosphere. How do you do that? Well, the ideas are wild. They range from putting giant magnifying mirrors in space to beam down concentrated sunlight, to planting specially engineered bacteria that pump out oxygen, to even, and I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but Musk has seriously suggested it, detonating nuclear weapons over the Martian poles to rapidly heat things up. Yeah, literally nuking a planet to save humanity. To physically pull any of this off, though, you need a vehicle unlike anything in human history, and that is where the Starship comes in. This thing is historically massive. For a little perspective, the Qutb Minar in India stands at a very impressive 72 meters. The Starship absolutely towers over it at 123 meters. It's an absolute behemoth. Plus, it is designed to be fully reusable, no more throwing away million-dollar rockets after one use, and it can carry up to 150 metric tons of cargo in a single trip. So, how does this all actually unfold? It's basically a three-phase tactical playbook. Step 1. You send the starships loaded with those Tesla Optimus robots we talked about earlier. Their job is to automatically build a self-growing city and basic infrastructure using the local Martian resources. Step 2. Human scientists and engineers arrive. They'll supervise the robots and basically live out of the starship while expanding the base. Finally, Step 3. A massive fleet of literally thousands of starships begins shuttling people back and forth, aiming to settle 1 million humans on Mars by the year 2050. But then there is the cost. Buckle up for this one. Estimates suggest this entire endeavor could hit $1,000 trillion. Put another way, $1 quadrillion. To put that completely insane number into perspective, the entire global economy right now, all the money flowing through the world, is roughly $110 trillion. So the cost of this Mars mission wildly eclipses all the money that currently exists on Earth. They absolutely have to find massive, unprecedented ways to cut costs, or this never happens. Which brings us to a highly theoretical but absolutely fascinating secret currently being discussed in advanced scientific circles: gravitons. Okay, this is where it gets a little sci-fi, but stay with me. Just as photons are the particles that carry light, scientists theorize that gravitons are particles that carry gravity. If we can discover and actually manipulate these particles, it changes the whole game. You can manipulate gravity to launch massive spacecraft with barely any fuel, which would dramatically slash costs. You could even create artificial gravity inside the ship, so astronauts' bones and muscles don't waste away during that long journey. It would be the ultimate game changer. So, we've got the massive vehicles, the colonization playbook, the terrifying Martian challenges. We know the plan, but suddenly, plot twist, there's been a massive narrative pivot. It was recently announced that, actually, Mars is taking a back seat for now. The moon is now the ultimate first priority, with the new goal of building a self-sustaining city there within the next 10 years. Wait, what? Why on earth would you abandon a lifelong Mars obsession to go back to the moon? Well, let's peel back the layers of this new strategy, starting with pure logistics. As we know, Mars is a grueling 7 to 9 month trip with a brutal 2-year penalty if you missed your launch window. The moon, it is just a 3-day trip, and a launch window opens up every 10 days. The moon is a far superior, much faster, and drastically cheaper testing ground. It gives them the chance to do rapid trial and error, to figure out all the robotics, the mining, the habitats, and they can do it right alongside organizations like NASA, all before risking everything on the long haul to Mars. But beyond logistics, there's the business psychology. You gotta follow the money. With a massive IPO expected on the horizon, maintaining investor confidence is absolutely crucial. If you go to Wall Street and pitch a high-risk Mars project where nobody is going to see any visible results for maybe 30 years, investors are going to hesitate, big time. But if you pivot and pitch the moon, if you project solid, highly visible returns and actual infrastructure within 5 to 10 years, boom, you guarantee investor confidence and secure the massive funding you need. It is an incredibly calculated financial move. And the final layer here is perhaps the most brilliant part of all. It comes down to team management, something we can call the Raptor engine strategy. Back in 2021, the Raptor engine for the Starship was way too expensive and insanely complex. But instead of just yelling at his engineering team to fix it, Musk did something weird. He briefly shifted their entire focus to a fictional, even more powerful engine he called Engine 1377. By intentionally distracting them with this completely new, impossible puzzle, he completely broke their mental barriers. When he pivoted them back to the original Raptor engine a month later, they suddenly figured out how to mass produce it efficiently. So this whole moon pivot, it might actually just be a giant psychological distraction designed to rapidly accelerate the underlying technology they ultimately need for Mars. Throughout this whole explainer, you might be sitting there thinking, this all sounds completely impossible. But history tells a really different story. Back in the 15th century, people genuinely thought the world was flat and that Columbus would just fall off the edge. In the 17th century, nobody thought Shivaji Maharaj could challenge the massive, seemingly invincible Mughal Empire, yet he expanded his own. And in the 20th century, the Wright brothers were literally mocked in the papers for thinking humans could build a machine that flies. The point is, history is entirely built on quote-unquote crazy ideas that face widespread mockery, right up until they completely change the fabric of the world. So considering the sheer scale of the rockets, the terrifying reality of the Great Filter, the unimaginable quadrillion-dollar costs, and these brilliant, somewhat manipulative strategic pivots, is all of this just the ego and madness of an unpredictable billionaire? Or are we literally looking at the necessary blueprint for the survival of the human race? It's a fascinating question to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time.